Suzanne Bure on teacher evaluations. Teacher evaluations. How are teachers being measured in your school? The purpose for teacher evaluations is to evaluate the effectiveness of a teacher through the process of evaluating, to determine student growth based on the teacher's effectiveness, to provide feedback of the teacher's strengths and weaknesses, and to provide guidance to the teacher by the administration. According to the Essex text, Pocket Guide to School Law, there are several different things that an evaluation must do. It should provide a primary purpose of teacher evaluation, which is to assess a teacher's effectiveness and to provide guidance and direction for improvement. The evaluation should be communicated to teachers. Evaluation should be applied fairly and consistently to all teachers across the board. If the evaluation is not for improvement, the teacher should be informed of the intended use by the administration. Evaluation scores should be compared with predetermined standards to determine the teacher's effectiveness. A site that I found called Teacher Evaluation 2.0 had some really good points. The first point was the annual process. All teachers should be evaluated at least annually. The evaluation should be clear and have rigorous expectations. Evaluation should be based on clear standards of instructional excellence that prioritize student learning. They should measure through multiple ways. So evaluation should consider multiple measures of performance, primarily the teacher's impact on student academic growth. There should be multiple ratings for the evaluations. They should employ 4 to 5 rating levels to describe differences in teacher effectiveness. There should be regular feedback, meaning that the evaluations should encourage frequent observations and constructive critical feedback from the administration. There should be significance to it, that the evaluation outcomes must matter to the teacher, and the data should be a major factor in key employment decisions about teachers. From the Teacher Evaluation 2.0, I found this rating scale, which I thought was really effective. It talked about experience for the year of the teacher, and just to kind of go over a couple highlights, if you were in your first year of teaching, as a principal evaluating a first-year teacher, if they're ineffective based on your ratings, that they should renew if they're improving rapidly. If they need improvement, they should renew if they're improving. If they're effective, renew their employment. If they're highly effective, renew their employment. Let's jump down to year 3. If they're ineffective, you deny them tenure. If they're needing improvement, you extend their probationary period. If they're effective, give them or grant their tenure. And if they're highly effective, obviously you grant their tenure there as well. 4 years and beyond, ineffective teachers, you dismiss or cancel them out or phase them out. If they're needing improvement, you retain the teacher if they were effective the previous year. Otherwise, you dismiss or cancel them out. If they're effective, you retain them. If they're highly effective, retain and reward. Now, I feel that all teachers need some form of reward, so I don't feel that just at that highly effective level is when you reward. Everybody needs praise and encouragement. Performance assessment form samples are available on the Kansas State Department of Education website. The KSDE talks about developing a system of educator effectiveness being a complex undertaking. There was a PDF that was linked from their site which discussed this, and that there are many pieces that must fit together, from data systems for measuring student performance and linking teacher and student data to teacher and principal evaluation, as well as teacher and principal preparation, compensation, and professional development design. And I feel as a principal, it is very important to be using evaluations that are backed by the state that align with our current Common Core standards. I do have a few different videos from YouTube that I would like to demonstrate and show to you now.
Miss Clairvoyant, we are here to discuss my recent observation in your classroom. Let's discuss what I saw. You were testing students instead of teaching a lesson. I came to observe you teaching. How do you explain this? Yes, Miss Monarch, I was testing the children because that was my only option to complete the required tests by the week's end. But testing is not teaching, Miss Clairvoyant. Let's talk about instruction. How do you use data to drive your instruction? Data has indicated that since we've increased the amount of testing in our school, scores have declined dramatically. There is just not enough time to teach if we are to get testing done in a timely manner. But if we are to increase school scores, we must enforce a rigorous curriculum. How are you implementing rigor in your instruction? Our textbook series contain higher-level thinking questions and writing prompts. But how do you apply each component of Bloom's taxonomy in your instruction? Our last faculty meeting indicated we no longer use Bloom's, and have now switched to textbooks are not rigor. They are for teachers who do not have high expectations. With all due respect, they were said to be research-based when the county adopted them. The district spent thousands of dollars on them. Should we not use them anymore? How are you using summarizing strategies in your classroom? Assessments contain summarizing and higher-level thinking questions from each component of Bloom's. We no longer use.
The second video talks about teacher evaluations and it being a hot topic issue.
On a super high-performance car like the V, the larger grille openings feed more air to the supercharged engine and Brembo brakes, which is good, because as stunning as it looks on the outside, it's even better on the inside. Assault.
Controversy tonight over grading New Mexico's teachers.
There's a new system heading to lawmakers, and many teachers are not happy about it. Actress reporter Amber Lee tells us why this proposal is such a hot-button issue.
Grading the graders, the controversial subject of teacher evaluations will come up again at this legislative session.
Today we either say you meet competency or you don't. That's not a way to acknowledge excellence in a profession, so we want to change that language.
Secretary of Education designee Hannah Scandera says changing how teachers are evaluated will improve their performance.
When it comes to our kids, we expect the best and the brightest to be with them, and when they are the best and brightest, we should acknowledge their excellence.
A 15-member task force made up of teachers and school leaders from across the state came up with a new system. Math, science, and English teachers who administer standards-based tests will have half their evaluations based on student achievement. Other teacher evaluations will be heavily based on their school's A through F grade. Teachers agree that evaluations need to be changed, but they don't agree with what the task force came up with. Instead, they feel that their evaluations need to be more balanced.
We want it to be more diverse than that. We want student surveys. We want principal observations. We want a team of trained observers coming around in addition to the principal, giving us feedback about how we're teaching.
A debate that will now be left up to lawmakers to decide. In Albuquerque, Amber Lee, KOAT Action 7 News.
The Public Education Department says if the legislation passes, the teacher evaluation will begin during the 2013.
Okay, the final and third
On a super
YouTube
high-performance car
observation
like the V, the larger grille openings feed more air to the
is going to start
School
playing
districts
now.
are scrambling right now to figure out how they can change the way they evaluate teachers. And it's all because of Ohio House Bill 153, which requires districts to evaluate every teacher every year. It is not a simple process. The evaluations include several classroom observations, additional paperwork on top of their day-to-day duties. They wonder how they'll get it all done.
Most districts, ours included, have tried to reduce administration overall. We've asked principals to do more and more and more.
April Dominy is the superintendent for the New Albany Plain Local School District. She says for the district to have an effective evaluation process, they would have to hire more people. The state wants to revamp these evaluations to improve how teachers teach your kids. Student growth is now 50% of a teacher's evaluation. Their score will be based on how much a student has learned during the school year. The challenge for districts is coming up with a way to measure that.
We're going to need to build other measures of student growth for all of our teachers that truly help us identify are students growing in the standards that we have for them.
The Ohio Department of Education says they have heard from districts about problems, and they're working to help those districts work with the new requirements. The state feels the program will work, and they are doing test runs in 137 districts across Ohio to see what works and what doesn't, so they can make changes where necessary.
We're sensitive to the workload and we're sensitive to how it's being received in the field, and we want this to be a successful and very doable process, not only the principal but also for the teacher.
New Albany teachers are working with administrators to develop an evaluation that makes teachers better.
Okay, that would be it for the YouTube videos. The ISLLC and NETS standards. I feel that the ISLLC standard that fits this is standard 1. An education leader promotes the success of every student by facilitating the development, articulation, implementation, and stewardship of a vision of learning that is shared and supported by all stakeholders. The functions under standard 1 that fit this is number 4, promoting continuous and sustainable improvement, and number 5, to monitor and evaluate progress and revise plans. According to the NETS Administrators 2002, the part that fits it is number 5, assessment and evaluation, which is educational leaders use technology to plan and implement comprehensive systems of effective assessment and evaluation. And the educational leaders part that fits that is the first one, which is that they use multiple methods to assess and evaluate appropriate uses of technology resources for learning, communication, and productivity. And I feel as an administrator, if you're not looking at standards and benchmarks, indicators, all of the things that the state and the federal government have implemented to help guide our education system, then you're kind of just going it alone and flying by the seat. And I really don't think that you're going to benefit not only your teachers but your students or community without using the standards that have been put into place. And finally, the references. I had a reference for the Teacher Evaluation 2.0, the Essex book, A Teacher's Pocket Guide to School Law, and then finally the form that I retrieved from the Kansas State Department of Education Teacher Evaluations, which was Great Teachers and Leaders, State Considerations on Building Systems of Educator Effectiveness. Hopefully you got a little more insight into teacher evaluations from this, and thank you and have a great day.